Well, my talk of the table, I like this one too. It's about a new young adult novel that is showing the power of positivity, even in the darkest of times. It's called Punching the Air. Tells a story of 16-year-old Amal, who is in prison for a racially charged crime that he did not commit. The book is co-written by Yusef Salaam, who's a member of the Exonerated Five, formerly known as the Central Park Five, but now they are known as the Exonerated Five. Back in 1989, you know the story, 5 Black and Latino teens were wrongly accused of the rape of a jogger in the New York Central Park. In 2002, the convictions were overturned, and their story was later turned into Ava DuVernay's acclaimed miniseries. It was called When They See Us. Yusef Salaam joins us now along with the co-author, who's got one of the best names, Ibi Zoboi. They're both joining us this morning. It's good to see you both. Now, I know that this story is inspired by your story, Yusef. It's not your story, but it's inspired by it. But yet there are some similarities. For instance, both the characters, you and Amal, used poetry and art to help you get through. How did that work for you and for him?
Oh, it was definitely tremendous. You know, one thing about art and poetry, especially when you just allow your mind to wander, it allows you to tell the story that you really need to tell through the graphics, through the poetry, through the essence of what you're really trying to get out.
It was important to you, I hear, that you wanted young readers in particular. You're trying to reach young readers, young Black readers. Why?
Well, I feel like when we want to do our best and do our due diligence in terms of our platform, whenever we have a platform, we have to make sure that we speak truth to power. And as much as we can, we need to water the seeds of greatness inside of the future to make sure that it's alive and well. And to give them a book like Punching the Air is so powerful because it tells people that there is hope in every place, especially in the most downtrodden places in the world. And we can be the answers to the question that we seek.
Ibi, what does punching the air mean?
Well, punching the air can be both an act of frustration, punching something that you can't see, but it's definitely there. And it can be victorious as you're punching towards the sky, that you've defeated something great. So it was the perfect title for this book.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of punching there as being something victorious. I also like the writing device you use because it's a novel told in poetry. I think you call it written in verse. How did you two decide that that was the device? A novel in verse. How did you two decide that that's how you wanted to tell this particular story this way?
Well, the foundation was already there when I ran into Yusef.
Go, Ibi, you start, and then Yusef, you pick it up. Go ahead, Ibi.
Yes.
When I ran into Yusef 3 years ago, he was selling his self-published book of poetry that he had written while incarcerated. So the foundation was already there. I took one of the most powerful poems that he had written and built the novel around that.
What were you going to say, Yusef?
Yeah, I was going to say that the great thing about poetry, especially written this way, is that it pulls the reader through and allows them, it keeps their mind attentive. The words on the page, everything is beautiful about the book Punching the Air. This piece that we created is really, really amazing. And, you know, to do it in poetic format, you know, life is poetry, you know. That's one of the best things that we could do.
Ibi, I think I'm curious about how the two of you got together because I know you met in college. And he at the time was out of prison, but he had not yet been exonerated, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We met at New York City's Hunter College, and we always knew that there was something not right about the case. We knew that they were innocent, and at the time, I was the editor of my college's newspaper, and I remember the story from when I was in 6th grade, and when I saw him, I just had to get an interview. I never got that interview, but I ran into him again 3 years ago, and here we are with this novel.
Were you afraid, Yusef, to tell your story?
You know, when I came home from prison, I was hiding in plain sight. You know, here I am over 6 feet tall, and I had this indelible scar that the system had labeled me a rapist, and I was very, very scared of who to tell, you know, my truth to, and, you know, because it wasn't popular. You know, Donald Trump had taken out that full-page ad years ago. Yeah. Now it's 31 years ago, and I mean, I was walking around with that target on my back at all times.
And you talk about the importance, I mean, so does Amal. It's okay to be angry but not be bitter. How were you able to get to that place and do that?
Well, I tell you, you know, I listened to the words of, you know, Mandiba Nelson Mandela.
Yeah.
And what he said was he had to leave anger and bitterness in the prison because if he took it outside with him, it would destroy him, right? And then I heard the words of Dr. Maya Angelou, who said, you should be angry, but you must not be bitter. And then she taught us how to, take that anger and turn it into something by saying, it can metastasize into something, but if you use that anger and dance it and write it and do everything about it, talk it, never stop talking it, you get the opportunity to take the horns of the bull and really direct it in a manner that really can change lives.
Ibi, I'm wondering if this was a personal story for you in some way. You said I just heard you say you knew this story as a little girl, then you meet him in college, and then you end up working with him on this book. Was it personal for you? Ibi? Ibi? Ibi, can you hear me? Ibi, can you hear me?
We lost her.
I think we lost Ibi. This is what happens in live TV. Ibi, you can't hear me,
Well,
right?
I'll tell you
Okay,
what.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Part of the conversation that Ibi and I had, which was really important, I think, because here I am thinking that I'm going through this in a vacuum, that this is only happening to me. And meeting Ibi and having the conversation with her about all of these injustices that were going on. You had Amadou Diallo, Sean Bell. You had, even now we have so many names that are coming up to our doorstep today that it was amazing that she was able to realize, wow, he looks like a boy in my classroom.
Yeah.
And that's the connecting that she was making, that all of the five of us look like people and were people. We represented the microcosm of the macrocosm of people just like us.
All right, Yusef Salaam, thank you so much for joining us. Ibi Zoboi, tell her we said thank you too. The name of the book is called Punching the Air. It goes on sale tomorrow wherever you like to buy your books.